Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, the only Idaho podcast focused on providing profits for Idaho people. If you love our state and love small business, you are in the right place. We interview local legends, learn business, and have way too much fun doing it. You're listening to the Idaho Business Podcast with your friend, host, and all-around great guy and owner of New Clean Commercial Cleaning, Spencer Ward.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Idaho Business Podcast. We are here with Senate Eskridge. Senate, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Spencer. Glad to be here.
Hey, we're happy to have some good guests on the show, as always. Before we get into the introductions, we are sponsored by one of my companies, New Clean Commercial Cleaning. If you mention that you heard about us on the podcast, the offer for the podcast listeners, if you just mention that you heard about New Clean, is we'll give you your first electrostatic sterilization for your offices completely free. No strings attached, because it's cold and flu season. We know what's going on right now. It's a good way to restart your office for the weekend or whatever it is. And that's the offer. So go give us a call at 208-254-7070. All right, Senate. He is an Idaho native. This guy is an investor extraordinaire. This guy, he helps people invest in multifamily real estate and build passive income so they can live the life they choose, which don't we all want to have that life? Don't we all want to live the life we choose instead of living paycheck to paycheck and not worrying when if we can make this next payment or if we can send Susie to college, that's what I want to do. So, Senate is here. He's had a long history of business development and investment backgrounds. He's an author, he's a speaker, he's a writer. This guy is well accomplished. I'm not even worthy to have him on the podcast. But I'm excited to have him on here. So again, Senate, thank you for being on the podcast today and welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Well, let me get into this other screen. So I'm prompted to not say anything stupid. So, that's what my producer always says. Don't say stupid stuff, Spencer. So, whatever.
It's easy to do, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm like, have you seen my show? I say a lot of stuff like that. So, okay. Well, really, what brought you into the idea of, real estate is what I want to get into, and beyond real estate, why get into the realm of helping other people invest in real estate?
So, a couple of different answers there. I actually got my first rental property, got it by accident. And I had a house I couldn't sell, so I went ahead and rented it out and just kind of fell in love with the cash flow. And I got the real estate bug doing that. And but my job, my business that I own, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, and my business primarily was financial services and helping people invest into stocks and mutual funds and bonds, things of that nature. And I've done that with the 18-year-old kid that just is graduating high school, all the way up to the multi-million-dollar 401ks for businesses, and even helping people retire on the other end. So I have a lot of experience helping people invest anyway. And the big dichotomy that I faced was I was investing in real estate and just loved investing in real estate, but I was helping people invest into other things like stocks and mutual funds. And I really felt kind of at odds with myself, right? That I was telling people to do this thing over here, but I was doing it over here. And the entire time I was just growing that portfolio of single family homes. I got duplexes, triplexes, and I got up to the point where I just couldn't scale it anymore. And I needed to make a shift. And so that shift went into multifamily apartment buildings. And when I did that, I had a realization. Now I can help all of those people that I was helping invest in the stock market and other of those mainstream assets now invest into multifamily apartment buildings. Because anybody can buy a single family house and rent it out and be a landlord. Yeah. But to go buy a large, call it $10 million apartment building takes special skills, a lot of resources, a team of people, and quite a bit of money. I've got the resources, I've got the knowledge, I've got the expertise, and now I take people's money and I pool it together. And now we go buy these big apartment buildings together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I follow Grant Cardone and people like that that are very highly invested in those large apartment complexes and facilities as well. I'm amazed by what they're doing, and I think that's pretty unique to be able to do that kind of stuff. And sometimes I think it's the average Joe like myself really even thinks like, wow, that's a big undertaking. Like, do I have what it takes to actually to do something like that? But with someone like you having that guidance and saying, hey, you don't have to eat the whole elephant at once. You can, I'm going to be here to guide you. You don't, let's take this kind of money and do this with it. I think that's going to be a fantastic way to go. Yeah,
you hit the nail on the head there. A lot of people, anybody could do it, but they're not going to take the time to learn and to go through all the processes to do it on their own. So what I do is I take, as you mentioned, anybody that would be listening to this podcast, and I can help them invest and get started, while keeping their normal job, keeping all those kind of things. They just basically what they have to do is they write a check to me. I take care of everything on the back end, and they just sit back and collect all the benefits of owning this big apartment building, quite frankly, without doing any of the work. It's very similar to what Grant Cardone does. It's called a real estate syndication. It helps people invest passively into real estate.
That's nice. Well, as you think about it too, you're not the one that have to be knocking on doors. Hey, your rent's late. Give me your rent. You're not having to evict people. You get all the benefits without having all that work. So that's sounds magical to me. So
I love it.
Well, what can you tell us maybe some stories of maybe a few people that you've been able to turn their lives around, from getting this kind of stuff started for them?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about this one individual in particular that sure. He was investing into normal everyday assets, things like 401ks and IRAs and that kind of thing. And he worked really, really hard, made a lot of money, and was extremely frugal. And I'll throw out a couple of numbers just to be clear. He was literally living on half of his income and investing the rest. And he calculated it was going to take him, even doing that, it was going to take him 15 years to be able to retire, to replace his income to live off of this normal everyday investment. Well, I sat down with him and showed him through a thing that I call the conveyor belt model, where investing into one of these apartment syndications now, and in 3 years we do a little bit of a cash back, like a refinance, and then we sell again in say 5 years. That in 5 years I was going to be able to generate enough income for him that it would completely replace what he was earning today.
Wow.
And he said to me, "Well, I don't want to retire in 5 years. I want to retire in 10." Well, that's perfect. Now we did the calculation over again, and he was going to have 3 times his income in 10 years. And again, he's investing a large sum of money, right? Like, so that's not a fair comparison to everybody, but the point is that anybody can start where they are today onto this type of model.
I like it. That's so interesting to me. That is great. Well, so how did you discover this model and decide like this is what I'm doing?
Well, I discovered it actually by reading books.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell behind me, but I'm quite an avid reader, and I'm always looking for new knowledge and new skill sets. I'm a personal development junkie. Okay. And I actually read a book called The Hands-Off Investor and when I read that, I realized this isn't a method that he's trying to get people to invest with him. And if he can do the same type of thing, why can't I? Mm-hmm. And that's really how I discovered it was this guy's doing a real estate syndication. I can now go out and I can learn how to do it. And so I spent almost 2 years of my life just learning the process of how to do these types of things. I've spent, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars on self-development and personal development, joined mentorship groups and coaching programs to teach me exactly how to do these types of things. And I've really sharpened the saw and developed the skill set to be able to help people just like yourself and or your listeners to be able to do these syndications.
That's great, man. Do you find that there's a lot of people that are like, they feel like, I've got to do it the hard way. Making money has got to be hard for me. Like I've got to, if I'm going to get into real estate, man, I've got to be that one knocking on those doors. I've got to be that one getting the rent. I can't waste my money on property management. I've got to do this and I've got to do that. I've got to be one changing the locks and doing this to make that money work for me. Like, do you find that mentality a lot in people that it has to be hard or my money's not going to work for me so I can retire?
Yeah. So the mindset shift is really the hardest thing to get people to overcome.
Yeah.
I have two common conversations that I have that almost always end the same way. Number one is, how do I get started buying real estate? Right. Mm-hmm. I want to go out and I want to buy single family houses, or I want to buy apartment buildings, or I want to buy storage units, any of these type of things. How do I go out there and do that? And then the other second one is, I'm burned out because I have all of these single family apartment buildings or single family houses or small apartment buildings, and I'm doing it all myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm really running out of time, energy, and money. And both of them end with, well, being a landlord has never been your goal. Owning a real estate job, which is really what owning a bunch of single family houses is a job, was never people's goal. They always believed that buying real estate is a passive endeavor, right? They can buy a rental house and then go sit on the beach and collect the money. Well, that's not how real estate works. Mm-hmm. Not if you're doing it on your own. And so it ends with us talking about how to shift from the mindset of that active investor, that active real estate business owner, into a passive investor, which is exactly what I help people do. I take their money, I pool it together with a bunch of other people's money. I go buy these large apartment buildings, and then I have those teams of people that do all that work that you just talked about, dealing with the troubles, right? The three troubles of real estate: tenants, toilets, termites. It's a joke, right? But
it's so true, though. Yep. So true. It's good. No, that's so true, man. Having those people and the processes, I watched what's the show with the Prophet with Marcus Lamone.
Oh yeah.
What does he always say? People, processes, and there's always a third one with what starts with the P. I can't remember right now, but it goes along with what we're talking about. But you got to have those systems in place to make things easier for yourself. This last week's what just published on Tuesday. Well, I guess today, this morning it came out. We talked a lot about having systems in place. If you don't have systems in place, you're purposely making your life hard in your business. Well, and it's not effective to set up all those systems if you have just one or two properties. Yeah, it's true.
A lot of those systems, they take time and energy to create.
Yeah.
And if you only have one rental house, it's not really worth all the time and energy to do that. True. But when you've got hundreds of units like my team and I have, mm-hmm. Spread across multiple states, then you have to have those systems. And now it pays dividends to create them.
Mm. Interesting. Are there any states you kind of avoid to invest in? Well, I'm just curious.
There is. People are going to think this is a political statement, and I don't mean it to be, but I only invest in red states.
Yep.
And it's not a political thing, it's a financial thing, right? Yep. So you're going to make more money as a real estate owner in a red state.
That makes sense. There's I've always said that there's been business opportunities for me even that even just last month there was something in Newport Beach, and I'm like, you know what? If it wasn't in California, I'd be all over something like that. The numbers matched up, things looked good. I'm like, no, you can't trust certain type of it's not politics. It's just the laws and everything else that can change automatically and really can affect your P&L overnight, so.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, that's cool. Is there a starting amount, a threshold that you for people to come in and invest with you?
Yeah, that's a very important question. I love to help everybody, but it's really not feasible for me to have people invest under $50,000 on a regular basis. There's a lot of paperwork and headaches and things that I have to go through, and expense for me to actually take people's money. So $50,000 is the minimum, typically.
That makes sense. Everyone's got to have some kind of minimum. I think that's with every business. You got to have some minimum in what you do and what you take and accept, or you can't be everything to everyone. So
that's right.
I like it. Well, let's get into the lightning round here real quick, as before we come into a closing here and come to into a landing. So, the same thing that I asked with your spouse when she was on our show, but one of you got all those books behind you, but what is one of your favorite books that you've read recently that's kind of been a game changer for you?
My favorite book that I've read recently is called The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. I've known Ed Mylett for over a decade now, and he has influenced me in so many ways. And when I read this book, it was just lit me up and excited me.
Yep, I'm literally on chapter 10 right now of that book. So yeah, I'm trying to, I get home, I wrestle with my kids, I have fun, and then I try to find some time to go read that, and then be a dad and a husband. So yeah, I'm trying to get through that as fast as I can. So I need to bring that to my office in between meetings so I can keep diving into that one some more, because I love that one. So
it's a great book. I actually bought 25 copies and
wow.
have been giving them away.
Oh, no, I'm an avid Ed Mylett listener as well. So he is the man. So, well, cool. I love it. What's one of the biggest myths business owners need to know the truth about?
Biggest myth business owners need to know the truth about?
Or you could even say investors need to know the truth about.
Oh boy. Well, they're two different things. So
yeah, you could do either or on this one for you.
Well, I want to go with business owners.
Okay.
The biggest myth that I believe is, they say find your passion and you'll never work a day in your life. I think that is absolute BS, right? Because I do believe work on your passion and find something you're passionate about, but you have to go out and work, right? Yep. Having a successful business is work. It's not like being a real estate investor, right? Which the myth on that one is that owning real estate is passive.
Yep.
Well, that's the biggest myth. Owning real estate is passive unless you invest with someone like me, where you are a passive investor.
I like it. That is a good myth, because you hear that a lot in these quotes and all these things within and that's what leads me to another point too. I heard from, was it Gary Vee or something, that said, latch on to like one business personality that you really agree with and identify with, and stick with that person. Too many people, we listen to so many of these business personalities, and we're like, oh, I like that, but I like this, I like that. You got to find what works for you and go for it, and stop being led around by too many different personalities and people. So I like it, because I've heard that one a lot. The find your passion thing. So, okay. What is one question before I roll out the red carpet for you? Because I know people are going to be asking, how to get a hold of you and to get for investing. But what is one question I should have asked you in this podcast that I didn't, and what would be your answer?
One question you should have asked that didn't. Well, I would say we probably could have talked about, what are the risks as one of these investors,
Yeah.
And I'll use the short answer. Being a owner of a single family house or a small investment on your own, there's just tons of risks out there. Income risks, fire, property damage, and of course you can buy insurance for a lot of these things, right? But the risks still exist. As an investor in one of these limited partnership investments, a syndication, the only risk is the amount of money you have invested. So worst case scenario, like nightmare scenario, right? Whatever that is, like you think about that, your investor or your listener can think about that. The worst case for them is they lose the amount of money that they have invested, right? I assume all of the other risks. I assume all the other liabilities. So it really allows them to have an asymmetric risk reward.
I like that. Yeah, and every investment has a risk, so you just got to decide what's going to be best for you and your lifestyle. So I like it. Good. Well, Senate, people are probably thinking, well, this guy's a smart dude. I would love to talk with him more about maybe my future and my investment strategies. How would they best get a hold of you?
I'm on every social media platform out there, and I'm the only Senate Eskridge that's on any of those platforms. But the best way to find me is actually my website. Okay. Just go to senateeskridge.com. You can schedule a call with me right there. You can send me a message, contact me. I've even got a couple of resources on that website that I'd love to give away to people. So
I like that. And you've got an event coming up here soon too, don't you? Or something that's, am I saying that right? Or
well, are you talking about my Investor 101 course?
Yeah, Investor 101. That's what I'm
talking. You got it. Yeah. So I have a course on my website, right, that you can get on there and download free of charge. It's called Investor 101. It talks about all of the questions that somebody should be asking, and comes up a lot of lingo that you need to know, right? Words that are not in common terminology that are very often used in these syndications. I've even got a due diligence checklist that's included. And really what this is, and when you go through this checklist, it gives you every question you should ask somebody before investing into one of these syndications. And you can use it with mine or take it and use it on somebody else's syndication.
I like it. That's the best way to. That's just a good thing to do, man. I love that. You're giving away free, valuable information that's helpful to these people to understand what's the best decision for them. So that's some good, good stuff that you're giving to them. Yeah. So
always looking to provide value.
I love it. Well, thank you again for coming on the show and providing value to our listeners. So again, as always, we always say, stay away from those people that are just there to bring misery into your life. We're all about staying positive and looking for the gratitude that's around you in our lives, and just looking for the love that's around you. And go out and hug your families, enjoy your holidays, and thank you, Senate, for coming on the show today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have a happy holidays.
Congratulations on spending a couple of minutes getting a little bit smarter, having some fun, and supporting the Idaho business community. If you're feeling the love, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you are.